The June 9th Board of the Urbana Free Library will come to order. Jane, can I ask you to do the roll call?
Yes, Jane, here. Call the names, or we each say our
Anna
name?
Merritt.
Okay, here.
Yes.
Here.
Anhel.
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Mel Farrell.
Here.
Bill. And,
Here.
okay.
May I have a motion to go into closed session?
So, you say that? You say the reason?
Sure. I move we go into closed session for purpose of discussion of compensation for specific employees
Very good.
under, what is it, 120/2C1?
I'll second.
All those in favor of going into closed session?
Roll call.
I need a roll call now?
To go into closed session.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Roll call again,
Jane?
please.
Anna.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Anhel.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Mark.
Here, yes.
Mel.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll be back.
we'll be back shortly. A motion to go back into the session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call. You want to read them?
Jasper Band,
Here.
Bill Brown,
Here, yes.
Mariana Bell,
Yes.
Mark Natter,
Here.
Chris Sherry.
Yes.
Anha Ho,
Here.
Beth Scheid,
Yes.
Anna Merritt,
Yes.
Jane Williams.
Here.
Okay, the first item of agenda, on the agenda is the consent agenda. And if we have,
Do you want to change the order?
okay, we planned, for those of you that have a copy of the agenda in front of you, we plan under item E to interchange D and C. So D will come before C. Okay, the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting of May 12, the closed session, the minutes of the closed session on May 12, and the approval of the bills for May 20th and June 3?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a couple of people who have requested opportunity to speak before our group, and I guess this is in order. Seth Kevlin?
Curley. Seth Curley?
Curley, yes, please.
Is the right place to stand up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I am Seth Curlin. I work here. Actually, it's a complicated story, but I first started working here in '95 when I was first hired, so I put in quite a number of years at the library over time. The first thing I want to say, just I'm concerned about, I don't know, you said it would become clear, but the agenda posting upstairs did say 6:30, and it is 8:15. I had a few people here who wanted to be here for the meeting, and they had to go home. I just hope that doesn't become something that happens regularly. It's very confusing. It's hard to know how to schedule our lives. I think it's important to have this back and forth conversation between board and the public and the staff and whatnot. In any regard, my primary concern, one of the main thing I want to talk about tonight, is just my personal sense as I work in circulation, also as an infinite full reference librarian, if you will, upstairs, and love my job very much, love working at the library, always have, and I find myself to be confused right now regarding the philosophy of leadership at the library and the philosophy of what precisely is happening and why it's happening, and that especially concerns me in a public institution that transparency is supposed to be paramount. I don't like the sense of confusion. I like to know why decisions are being made and how they're being made and what the rationale is behind them. In particular, in my staff, we've been cost-cutting quite a bit with the understanding that the library took a hit with the well, this is all common knowledge by now that there's been budgetary issues. And so part of what's happened is the salaried staff in my department, as they leave or have been encouraged to leave in various ways, have been replaced by hourly staff who don't get benefits, get paid less, tend to be more transient workers, and of course, just from a perspective of someone raising a family and community and whatnot, you can't it's not a living wage, those hourly jobs, and it's sort of a deprofessionalization of that department. Part of my concern is that's not spoken out, that's not something that's said clearly. It seems to be something that's happening very subtly, sometimes not so subtly, but at least it's not said to us. One of the things that happened that was very surprising, for example, is we got capped out at 30 hours on our, we weren't told this, but we were told we couldn't pick up more hours past a certain point. I'm still unclear as to how that, there's a lot of unclearness to me, and I've talked to my supervisor, Dawn, and the unclearness remains with me. And so that's my primary concern for transparency. But above all that, transparency, and I'd like to know the philosophy of leadership at the library. And by philosophy, I mean, are we still committed as a library to these professional jobs, whereby we retain people for decades even, and it contributes to an atmosphere of professionalism at the library and creates a space of, you know, well, let me just toot my own horn here for a little bit. I'm quite good at my job. I've done it a long time. I'm very good at working with the public, with all manner of demographics. I know the collection very well. This is not the sort of thing that happens in just 1 or 2 years. It takes a long time to build up that kind of investment in an institution. And I love the library. I'm very philosophically committed to it. But if more and more our salaries are not going to be able to, can't raise a family, and by raise a family, I mean really just raise a family. I'm not planning to work in a BMW. I mean just the basics of a simple house, a simple mortgage, paying your utilities and whatnot. That's a concern for me as a tax-paying citizen for the library, and it's also just a concern for me personally and professionally. So I'd like the board to discuss that openly. I'd like Celeste and Kathy to discuss that openly. I'd like there to not be this sort of ambiguous nature of these discussions. I think we can talk plainly and as adults. I feel like if the library really is in financial dire straits, I know, well, all the staff I know, many of them are my good friends, you know, that we are willing to talk to the library about that, forego raises, retain our hours and our benefits and do the things that we need to do to be able to I think that we would be willing to work with the board, with Celeste, with Kathy, with others to do that. But we can't get a grip on what's happening. And we're not sure if the philosophy of the library is changing or if it's really about money. We'd like to know. And indeed, I dare say we have a right to know. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Rachel Johnson.
I am Rachel Johnson. I work in the circulation department. I've worked here at the library for 8.5 years. I started off as a shelver and then as an acquisitions clerk in a shelver. And for the last 7.5 years, I've worked as a salaried circulation clerk. I also work, like Seth, at the satellite reference desk. And this is my last week working here at the library. And I'm not leaving because I don't like the job or because I have become bored with it. It's not at all that. There's a new challenge every day. And I love the people I work with. I have the best coworkers. I have met some fantastic people here and people I still keep up with even when they've moved on. And I've met amazing people on the other side of the desk. This is a community that also very passionately loves its library, and they have shown that to us. But I can't afford to continue working here. This job is not just a paycheck, it's an investment of who we are. We are recognized outside the community as somebody who works at the library. And we meet other people in the community. We have mortgages, we have lives here, and we, as a staff, are very invested in this place and in the people who live here and the people who we as a staff represent. We speak face-to-face with people who don't come to board meetings. We are the people who can advocate for them. And I don't believe that staff right now have the ability to advocate even for ourselves, much less our patrons. We don't have a formal place where staff members can be part of the library's ongoing goals and mission statements. This is the only chance that I have to speak to you as a board. We don't have any kind of infrastructure in place for staff members to approach with concerns or with suggestions, with things that we have seen that we would like to see go farther, suggestions patrons have that they've given us. And while we have supervisors we can talk to about things, hearing an opinion or an idea secondhand is not getting the entire idea. We are people who put a lot of our lives into our work. There are many people who are professionals, like Seth and many of us, we've worked here a long time, have a lot of knowledge and experience, and I think staff members here deserve to be heard face to face. And I would ask that the board consider how you can be more involved in meeting with staff members in different departments. I know that it's something that boards do not want to become too involved in the operational details of a library, and that causes problems when it goes too far that way. But I don't think we have enough of that at the moment, at least. There are issues, there are staff concerns, and those concerns, many of us have been either watching board meetings online or have been attending board meetings, and the concerns that we've brought to administrative staff are not being brought to board meetings, which means that you're not hearing them and our public isn't hearing them. When we had an entire circulation meeting that was about the cuts in our department and about a coworker said that it feels sometimes like working fast food, where you're just trying to get people through as fast as possible and you don't have time to talk to a patron, to ask them if they found everything that they were looking for, because you're trying so hard just to get to the next person in line. And that's not who we want to be as a staff. That's not what we want for our library. But those are some of the concerns that we have, some of the things we're seeing. We also, and you see the health insurance and benefits vacation thing that's being voted on today. It talks about half-time staff working a minimum of 20 hours. And for many half-time staff, that's now a maximum of 20 hours as well. And that is a dramatic shift in that position. We used to be able as half-time staff to work up to 40 hours. It was even part of our evaluations, how many hours we picked up in a week if we were able to come in when people called in sick. And we now can't do that. And that was understood in part of our job, that we would have the opportunity to do that it would be 20 to 30 hours with possibly even more. That's just what it says on our application for a half-time position. But that's no longer true. And that's a policy issue that I think should be discussed, and it's not being talked about. I am concerned that with the way that the budget has also become very paramount in the way that discussions are had about the library. A budget is necessary, but it's never the goal of anything. I don't have a budget in order to stay within a budget. I have a budget so that I can do the things I want to do in my life. And the budget should be supporting the library. It shouldn't be what's driving it. And we have a lot of discussions about cuts, but not a lot of discussions about what we could do to increase patron traffic, increase ways of bringing people back to the library. We lost 2 years ago when a lot of patrons lost faith with us, believed that we were, they saw what was happening and rightly were upset with what's happening with the books in the library, with the strategic plan. And that was another area where staff had many concerns, and those concerns were not brought to the board. They were not being talked about until it became a public issue. And I would ask that you work with staff so that these issues don't have to become big public issues, but work with us, with my coworkers in the future, to make sure that these issues are handled at the beginning, to make sure that all of the information is being given out freely. This is a library, we deal in information. And if staff are confused about what's happening in the library, how much more the people whose taxes support the library. And both as a staff member and as a longtime patron here, I love this library. I want to see it continue to do well. I don't like that this is the only forum that I have to talk with you about concerns that I have. And I think that my fellow staff members deserve to have more of a voice in the things that happen here. We have experience, knowledge, a lot of professional training, and a lot of investment in the library.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments and thoughts. At this time, we have a presentation by Amber Cox on our summer reading program.
forget, so apologies for looking down the whole time. When it comes to the summer reading program, as you have probably kind of guessed, the teen summer reading program always has the lowest numbers. Children are signed up by their parents, and so they always have, the highest participation, and adults are a close second. But with teens, it's a really hard sell to get them to want to read during their summer vacation.
Can you
And-
speak any louder?
Just a little.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, is that better? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm so soft-spoken. But anyway, so it's extremely important for teens to participate in summer reading because without reading, students are at risk of the summer slide, which is the dramatic loss of reading skills that often occurs between school years. So in an effort to reduce this loss, Joel Spencer and I have partnered with the Urbana Middle School to motivate teen reading during the summer. This summer, all of the incoming UMS students, so mostly it's the 7th and 8th graders, are eligible to earn enrichment credit for their English language arts classes in the fall just by participating in our summer reading program, which is this year is Escape the Ordinary. In addition, Joel and I will staff the Urbana Middle School Library every Monday morning in June alongside Brianna Morgan, who's the UMS librarian, in order to help the participants of their Summer Splash, Special Education, and Summer Academy, who are especially a lot of students who, if they're at the highest risk for this summer slide because they are a little bit more disadvantaged with their learning outcomes. So we'll be at this school to help them with their reading program logs. We'll be bringing in some of our popular teen tiles to the Urbana Middle School for mobile checkout, which is a first for this year. And we'll also be bringing the book prizes to them if they have mobility issues to get to our physical library here so we can award the readers for achieving their reading goals. We are very confident that this collaboration between the UFL and UMS will be a successful way of increasing summer reading because it's already working. So last year we had 85 teen participants total for the entire summer. They read close to 143,000 pages and wrote 93 reviews. Just this summer, in 12 days of the program being in motion, we currently have 94 teen participants, which is continuing to increase. They've already read over 39,000 pages and have written 74 reviews just in the first 12 days. So it's a really great initiative. And of those 94 current participants, 53 of them are UMS students. So over half of them are already UMS, and the number should continue to increase thanks to our collaboration with the Summer Splash, the Special Education, and the Summer Academy, because they're having over 70 students registered for that program this year, and we haven't gotten them all signed up yet for the reading program. So just so you're aware, we're trying to increase summer reading program with teens this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Yes?
You mentioned 7th and 8th graders, and of course that makes sense because they're carrying over.
Mhm.
Are there any 6th graders or ways to get the 6th graders into the program too and give them a boost?
We're hoping for next year, this is kind of our trial run year. If it works out really well and the teachers like it and the students like it, we're wanting to be able to partner with the elementary teachers because you really have to target the 5th grade teachers, in order to have them tell their students about it and then get it rolled over into the 6th grade. And the same thing works for all of our 8th graders who are going into their freshman year of college. That'd be a huge boost if they could have extra enrichment credit to go towards their next year in this big, scary high school. So if this program works for this first year, we're going to try to expand it and keep on growing it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you guys have any other questions?
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving into items for action and discussion, building and grounds. Do we have any comments?
I have a quick update.
An
Does that
update,
fall under
please.
this? So we have a couple of quick pieces of information. There are bricks popping off the west side of the building of the Tepper building. We found that, facing on some of the bricks is popping off of the Tepper building. Currently, the Tepper building is still owned by the city of Urbana. So Kathy's been working with city of Urbana staff to take a look at that. They've made some recommendations. Also, there was some softness on the roof, so they'll be evaluating the roof. So at some point in time, we will formalize the agreement that was begun in 2004. That's not done yet, so we thought it would be prudent to have them look over the building before we make that transition, before we recommend that transition to move ahead. So just letting you know that there's a couple of things.
May I please have your attention? The Urbana Free Library will close in 30 minutes. Patrons who wish to apply for or renew library cards should come to the circulation desk in the next 15 minutes.
So, the next thing is that Kathy has been talking with the people who maintain our HVAC system. As you know, Kathy wrote a grant that was submitted to the Live and Learn grant application process at the state to replace the air handler and one of the boilers. The cost was going to be about $238,000. We were hoping to get the grant that would cover $125,000, but we didn't get the grant this time around. So she is in conversation right now about the state of the air handler fan. It's just looking a little tricky right now, so we're going to think about it and talk amongst ourselves and talk with our expert HVAC person and see if we need to bring you a recommendation to replace one of those things before the next grant cycle begins. Because the grants aren't decided on until March. So we've been nursing along the HVAC system. We're paying about $10,000 a year just in maintenance in the system. So just letting you know that they're, fingers crossed, but it's possible that we'll be recommending replacement of something before a grant. We're also looking at other grant possibilities as well. So that's an update on those.
Okay, technology. I see nothing. Now we're moving into the policy. And the first policy we're dealing with is the health insurance waiver incentive. Do I have a motion for that? Motion first? And then discussion.
Sorry, I was at something.
Okay. Do I have a motion for the health insurance waiver incentive?
I'll move approval.
Nope.
What?
It's the policy that was presented last week, that's what you're moving? What are you moving approval of?
The health insurance waiver incentive that we have in here.
You might have the discussion.
Well, we have to move approval, we have to have a motion before we can.
Necessarily.
What are you saying?
What are you saying?
I didn't know that you want to move to approve it, is what I'm saying.
We probably want to
Well, we have to have it on the floor. And approval is the method by which, so there's been you have a motion before you have discussion.
And then you vote, and we don't want to vote.
Well,
Just want to discuss.
but he's made the motion.
We don't have to vote, though.
Is there a second to that motion?
Okay, so that one dies for lack.
Dies for lack of a
Okay.
second. Okay. General benefit policy.
No, we still have to deal with health waiver insurance. And so the one that he moved failed.
Right.
So we could talk about a different one. That
Okay.
sounds the right procedure, I guess. I mean, so the issue, do you want to try to summarize the issue for us?
You could talk about this under general benefits policy, which is where this would be then, because the current reimbursement is part of the general benefits policy.
Yes.
And if you approve
Okay.
it as it stands, you'll be stopping it by June 26th.
Okay, and
Discussing
then
your
under the
options.
general policy, why don't you explain that, Celeste? Or Bill, are you ready to?
Well, I have a motion for the other amendments, but this one's separate. So
You have a motion?
the health waivers, the problem is that we can't do the waiver anymore because of the Health Care Act. So what we want to do is accelerate the waiver for the rest of this year so people would get paid a lump sum in June for, I don't know if we can call it a waiver anymore, but to make up for what we can't pay the rest of the year.
7 months.
For this 7 months. So that's not part of the budget amendment, that's just the policy.
Yes, it would be part of the
It
budget.
is,
It is part of the budget.
involves current fiscal year money.
Okay, well then I have a motion.
Okay.
I move we follow the attorney's recommendation to pay eligible current and former employees additional compensation.
No, this is separate.
Is this different?
It's later.
Yeah.
If you
This
vote
is easy.
to approve the current proposed general benefits policy, it removes the benefit reimbursement by June 26th of this year. And then how you move ahead with compensating people is the
Is the
financial
Yeah,
amendment.
yeah.
Right.
But you have to vote to either approve or not the general benefits policy.
Okay,
as
so we're
proposed.
just skipping the health waiver part? And that would just be part of the finance amendment?
Right. So you have to approve or not the general benefits policy as it was given to you, which takes out the reimbursement.
Yeah, so you're moving to
Okay, so I move we approve the general benefits
the general
policy.
benefit policy. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion of that? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, vacation and leave policy. You have that in your packet from last time. Is there a motion to approve the vacation and leave policy?
So moved.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Now, we'll, the public use of meeting rooms,
Oh, wait, now we go to finance.
that is for discussion only, I mean, for, we did not approve. You, this is the first time you've seen that, yeah. So does anybody have any questions about that one? Okay, we will be voting on that at the next meeting. Okay, now we move into the financial session. And Bill, are you prepared for the,
Well,
Here we
that's a
go.
tricky question. Okay, so,
First
yeah,
is-
so we have a motion for the FY15 budget.
15 budget?
I don't think we have anything for the 16.
There's an amended 16 budget in your pack,
All right.
and so.
Do you want to vote on that first?
You're taking the 16 first? We
Well,
should-
it's on the agenda
It's on the
first.
agenda first, okay.
Just move approval of that.
Move approval, a second?
Second.
Any discussion? That we're amending the 16 budget that had been presented to the city council, and as you all know, we can amend the budget throughout the year, so it's not like it's a final, but with things the way they are in Springfield, we don't know everything at this time. So, all those in favor of amending the 16 budget, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now the amendment to the 15.
Okay, so
Celeste,
I
wait a minute, no.
to follow the attorney's recommendation to pay eligible and current former employees additional compensation. So this is just to clean up some things that weren't done quite right in the past. And let the minutes show the itemized accounts as submitted.
So you have an amended budget in front of you. This would be an amendment to the amendment. So you have to, if someone wants to bring the original budget, which had changes in it also, you have to,
Okay.
someone would have to move.
So
on
first
to
I'll
the
move that
amendment.
we accept the amended budget.
Amended budget that has been in the packet.
Correct. So
Okay.
who's going to first and second that?
And is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, now I'll make an amendment to that amendment.
Amendment to the amendment, yes.
Or amendment to that motion, to follow the attorney's recommendation to pay eligible current and former employees additional compensation as itemized in what will be submitted,
Including the Affordable Care Act.
including the Affordable Care Act adjustments. Does that
Vacation.
cover everything?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to the amendment?
Yes, is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
Or,
Okay, discussion. Celeste, do you want to kind of share some light on this?
Well, just, so the, there was a first and a second on the amendment.
Yes.
And then it's a friendly amendment.
yeah, I'll
that-
accept my own
You're going to
amendment
accept your
as a
own
friendly
amendment.
amendment.
Okay, so Bill. just
So we need to
make it.
approve that amendment to, so that the motion would be, have that amendment in it.
And so now you're,
Okay, but we've got to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now back to the main motion. And that is to approve the FY 15 budget.
Amendment?
As amended, yeah. And that's Bill's motion originally too, right? Oh, no, you made the
No.
amendment, you can't make the main motion.
It's all right. It'll work.
Where is the main motion? Who made it? Did it? Who made the main motion? Richard?
He did.
Can he amend his own
Sure,
motion?
it's a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Okay,
So do we need to discuss what we're going to do with the health waiver?
I would
Yeah, I
I
think
would
so.
speak
Yeah,
to that.
please.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can-
I think that's what we want to really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it is the library's intention not to harm staff who signed up for the health waiver reimbursement plan. Given what we know in this moment, and given what the health insurance broker said, this is a very prudent way to proceed, to close the policy as you have, to no longer have a reimbursement after June 26, which brings us in the compliance before the June 30th deadline. People on staff at the end of June would receive their normal June payment, and people who are on staff, who we anticipate being on staff July through December, would receive the extra 6 month also in June. We have been advised that this is, again, a prudent approach. There is a risk that people who are currently believed to be on staff July through December could separate from the library, in which case they would keep the money. That is a risk that the board would be taking. Otherwise, the other options that we have available to us, continuing the plan as it is, continuing the policy as it is, would incur, we expect $184,000 in excise taxes if we were to have, if you were to pass health waiver incentive versus a reimbursement, which is a different thing. That looks, from what the experts have told us, to also incur the $184,000 excise tax. The board could choose to close out the reimbursement policy and not do anything for staff the rest of the year, or you could do the choice that what you just voted to do, which is to compensate people. Those are the choices that we are aware of. So,
In other words, this is brought about by changes in by the Affordable Care Act prohibiting
correct.
employer waivers such as this, and imposing punitive standards on employers.
It is an
If they-
imperative that we not
Yeah.
pay the $100 per day per person.
And how will a replacement be structured after July 1?
So, since the library can't without penalty offer some type of incentive or reimbursement, staff come the open enrollment period, which is either November or December, will have the choice to be on the library's health insurance group plan if they choose to, or they can choose to waive the insurance with the library if they choose to, and they can go elsewhere. They have the choice to do one or the other.
And how's the city handling this?
The city is working with their employment attorney because they have union contracts. They have the incentive program, and so they are looking at what they are able to do without incurring the excise tax or other implications that they're going to face. So as we receive, if we receive any different information than what I've been able to provide to you now, I will let you know in a public appropriate way, so you could have another board meeting to have a discussion. Were there any other questions?
All those in favor of the motion as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Now we need to do the other.
Now we do the which?
The two.
We've done the 15th, have we?
Exempt the vacation.
Oh, do we have separate motions on those?
No.
The vacation and, that was,
No, we just,
It
was in one.
that's concluded.
We
That's
could,
concluded.
we could just mention though that.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should explain what it
There are
should mention
basically two
it.
different subjects that we talked about in closed session about the current and former employees. One had to do with people not receiving the correct amount of vacation time when they separated, and that was a relatively small amount. The other one had to do with people that Turned out we're being paid officially hourly, even though everybody probably thought that they were salaried, and that's my way to summarize it simply. So by the Fair Labor Standard Act, you have to pay overtime for those people. So that accumulated to about $30,000 to $35,000 probably, with penalties, because we also have to pay penalties. So it was a total of about 13,000 plus penalties with maybe 8 to 10 people, all different amounts. So that was basically what we talked about, and we had to go into closed session because it was specific people. But that's the amounts that we're talking about, trying to make up for past errors.
And those have been included in the motions that we've just made. Next item, education and training. Celeste, you attended a workshop in Springfield this last week.
And a quick comment on that. The Library of Illinois, the State Library, has a wonderful program called the SPILMI, Statewide Public Library Management Institute. They had 53 public library directors from all over the state come together from Sunday afternoon through Friday afternoon. And some of the public libraries have one person, and the library's open 12 hours a week. And then there's our library as a bigger one in Loughbury. And then we have libraries bigger than the Urbana Free Library. Everyone that spoke with Fred spoke very kindly and generously of Fred and what a great impact he's had on libraries in the state, which is wonderful. Many people said that they went to school here and they love the Urbana Free Library. They were glad to see me sporting my Urbana gear. So that was great. I have a box of goodies as part of the participation. So things like board orientation guides and library management guides and budgeting guides, the new laws for the library, which will go into the board packet for here. So there are puppets. It was a really fantastic, wonderful experience talking about change and leadership, financial, legal obligations, and I'll be sharing those as I have a moment to sit down and see what are the things we need to roll out and talk about and get excited about. The other thing is, Kathy did a fantastic job just a week ago on a fire drill simulation. We ran through 2 pretend fire drills. Mary was the fire. I was a subsidiary fire. And so staff went through different scenarios of what it would be like if the library had a fire in it. And so that worked out very well, and we'll continue to do those kinds of things.
Thank you. Any report from the Friends of the Library?
They don't meet in the summer. I can report that there is at least a second, it may in fact be a third draft of the Constitution and bylaws. So I think by the fall there will be a document, and then that memorandum of understanding, I'm not sure what the status of that is, but that's also being worked on. People are resting up, getting ready for the fall onslaught.
And book sale.
Yes.
Foundation is not met. So the Heartland Library, I cannot say.
It's Jeff.
Is it official?
It's official.
Okay,
Yes.
it's official. Jeff Bant has been appointed as is it a trustee?
I think so, yes.
Trustee of the Heartland Library System from our library as a board member. He holds the position, and so he will be our representative as well from our library, but he is on the board of that Heartland Library System now.
So I'll be the representative of the library and a board member? Is that the deal?
Appointments will be next month. We can
Okay.
talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, appointments tomorrow.
July 1st.
Oh, July 1st is, yeah, okay. Celeste, do you have anything to add to your executive committee's report? Executive's director's report, not committee.
Just in a nutshell, the library faced a very difficult situation, losing over almost $250,000 last year. And there were a number of administrative pieces and parts that needed to be addressed that have taken a good amount of time this year to make sure that the library is moving forward in a sustainable, healthy, compliant with laws kind of way. And so in addition to doing that kind of work, the library has also been reaching out to the community and increasing our programs. You've read the director's report of the entire library, which combined all the different departments. People in this library are doing amazing things. The thing that Amber talked about, that partnership with the school she's been working on, the relationship with the school she and Joel have been working on for years. And then this particular initiative she started back in before March. So we've been working in a very focused way on increasing the number of programs that we have, and we've had great success with that. So we're very pleased to see our programming numbers go up. We're seeing changes in trends, which we'll have in July an annual report for you to see what the year has looked like. But we're seeing that circulation is up a little bit over last year. Circulation was down last year by 50,000 items. It's up over last year by 25,000 items, but we were below. We also see that 19% of the items being checked out are either ebooks or being self-checked. So as we look at these trends here at our library and across the country and try to anticipate what are things that are going to benefit our community, we take a number of factors into account. We'll soon be launching some new collections that we've had staff working on. We've got a new collections team that are doing a fine job in evaluating of all the possible things in the world we could do at the Urbana Free Library. What are the things that make sense for us to do at the Urbana Free Library? So for example, some staff had said they really thought that we should launch a video game collection. A couple of departments get asked questions about why don't you have video games, they get asked that very regularly. Another department didn't see that as much as a benefit to their department, and a vigorous debate happened about that. And so that's a collection that we're pausing on. We are going to be launching a vinyl record LP collection soon. Those have been purchased from this year's funds, and we've got a number of literacy kits that are going to be rolling out as well. In part, a donor gave $500, and we decided to thank him for his donation of $500 to literacy kits. And then we also have new collections money that you voted for in amendments as well. So we put money aside to be able to have the flexibility to look at what are the kinds of things that are non-books, things you can't download. It's great to download books, but it's also great to have different kinds of things. Because as libraries, we do a very good job of checking items out to people and sharing resources so that our pooled dollars in the community are used well. Because ultimately, we do have to have enough money to fund the library and fund all the great things we want to do. And we are having different discussions about what our priorities are, and soon we talked a couple of months in a row about pieces and parts of the strategic plan. I've been gathering information about different approaches to strategic plans. Again, we talked about whether it's going to be a plan like the plan before. Again, how we get there and what the outcome is, different processes and different parts. Part of what I was looking to gain at the Spilmy Institute is different approaches as well, and I've learned some different approaches people are taking. For example, you can do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. Other libraries used a SOAR analysis, and it was all positive. So there were no two negatives. It was 4 positives, and it had to do with aspirations and such. So again, information that I learned we'll be talking about and seeing what makes sense for the Urbana Free Library. We'll bring you ideas, and then you can decide what you think would be a good way to move forward. So I think we're making good progress. Very difficult decisions have been made, and they're not fun. And I'm very sorry for the decisions that have had to be made, but we need to.
Can you, I know last night at our council meeting, you gave us total FTE. I think it's been about the same. So that number of hours worked hasn't gone down, is that right, approximately?
So there's a couple things about that particular number. The federal government, in looking at health insurance, which is what we've done a lot of recently, is look at the health insurance. The federal government says that if a person is working 30 hours a week, they're considered full-time. And there are particular rules for large employers, which we are, because we have approximately 52 to 54 employees based on a 30-hour work week. Now, in our regular life, we have a 39-hour work week, but the government asks that for this purpose, you look at a 32-hour work week. So, that being said, that's the note I've got in the city council, that we've got between 52 to 54 FTEs based on a 30-hour work week.
And how's that compared to last year?
It's pretty close. How the numbers were gathered last year, I think it was 54.45, something in the 54s. It's a very close number. We have had an open position.
The Urbana Free Library will close in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Please check out all materials now.
So there is an open position for a non-interim adult services head. Mary's done a very fine job as the interim. We currently don't have money to fund another position in the department. So that is something that's on our mind, that we have this open position. But otherwise, the other open position was the head of IT. So we've had a couple of people leave from circulation, part-time employees, and given less hands-on circulation that's occurring in the library, in conversation with my colleagues, we've decided not to fill those positions at all, or to fill them with hourly staff to create flexibility in scheduling. But we're not touching as many items as we used to.
I guess I'm just trying to get an idea of how much of a staffing impact these changes have made, and whether or not we should discuss it as a policy issue. We could put it on the agenda for a future meeting if we want to discuss it as a policy issue, but that's a board decision probably. I don't know how you feel about it.
It's a good thing to talk about.
What would the policy be?
Well,
A
we wouldn't-
policy of
we wouldn't know.
shifting benefits eligible hours to non-benefit eligible part-time hours.
Oh, Bill, what has happened is over the years, part-time employees who are benefits eligible have been picking up hourly hours.
Right.
What the library has done is scheduled hourly staff to work hourly hours. That's the difference.
Do you want to
do you
continue to
think-
talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, if you think it's a policy issue, I guess we could put it on an agenda, but it's up to you guys.
Okay.
I guess another question, just, what was it? Yeah, I guess I covered those two.
That it? Okay, thank you, Celeste. Kathy, do you have anything to contribute extra? Mary, anything? No. No? Okay. Laura? No? Anka isn't here. Don? Very good. In terms of unfinished business, we have the vote for next year's officers. The nominating committee reported last meeting that Beth Scheid would continue as the secretary-treasurer, Mark Netter as the vice president, and myself, Chris Shear, as president. Do I have a motion to elect those three parties?
So,
Yes.
Is there a second to that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Is there any other item of new business that should come before the board? No, tonight. If not, do I have a motion for adjournment?
move we adjourn?
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Thank you, folks, for coming, for spending some time with us, for sharing your ideas with us.